What up, nerds, and welcome to another pornographic episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 364, recorded Sunday, March 27th, 2022. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest from Ty West. The movie is called X. But before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randu. How do?
Oh, yeah. How's it going, buddy? You kind of tipped your hand there saying latest and greatest. I guess we kind of know where you're going to fall on the spectrum.
The man hasn't directed a movie in like a decade, so, I mean, it is latest and greatest. It's compared to nothing, really, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, okay. The man has other films, is all I'm saying.
He does. You're not wrong. Matter of fact, you're right.
Well, okay, great.
I can't wait to dive into the specifics with you, Randy. It's a very sexual film, and you're a sexual being.
Are you sure that's what you want to dive into?
I do. I'm diving into
you. Are you sure
buddy.
that's what you're diving into?
I'm getting in there. Let me root around. Next up, calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy, Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, Soju Steel Stains. That's the porn name I'm going with today. Give him
right.
Steel.
So right.
It's between that and Rocco Hump. So, I mean,
Rocco.
Those are the only choices? Somehow?
Those are the only
Rocco
choices
is
I've
an
got.
excellent choice. I kind of love Rocco Hump.
Rocco's,
I think I might pick up your leftovers.
Dude, take it.
Rocco's
I
modern
gift it
wife.
to you.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
Last but not least, making his triumphant return to the show, we got our good friend Mikey. What's up, man?
Hello. Oh, man, I feel like I'm on an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Seinfeld.
Oh, that's great.
You are Kramer.
Yeah,
You're
we
our
gotta-
Kramer.
Just busting out of nowhere.
Busting out of nowhere.
Oh, man. That's a bit that I really wish we had prepped ahead of time so I could have some deep bass funk bumps.
I would love that.
Michael, what was the last episode you were on? Do you recall?
I was wondering that.
Oh, I have no idea. I just remember the very
either.
first time I was on the show and the first time I ever podcasted. And pretty much, long story short, this was Mikey.
Just silence.
I didn't know what the hell I was going to do or what to say or when to come in.
It takes a while to get used to.
Yeah.
Man, you had to have been on something since this, but the last thing that I can
Poughkeepsie
recall
tapes.
was... Were you on Poughkeepsie Tapes?
Was I on Poughkeepsie?
The Poughkeepsie.
I don't remember
I'm
that.
looking at the spreadsheet and that says, yeah, Mikey.
God, that was
P.
a long time
I'm saying, how
ago.
long ago was that?
I wasn't even on that one. That
Dude.
was
Like
1/13/19.
Wow.
2019.
Yeah, that's
Over
Damn,
2 years
far
now.
too long.
Yeah.
Three.
If
Three,
that's
over
accurate,
3
I'm not
years,
100%.
So I remember I was
Damn.
on Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Yeah.
What, Serbian film?
Nightmare on Elm Street
Serbian
3.
film.
Oh, that was cool.
If it's
Yeah,
fucked up,
Serbian
chances
film.
are you've been on it.
I know, right? I remember too. I was supposed
Uh-huh.
to be on the Solo episode, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just being
yeah.
invited for the fucked up movies.
It was... That
Oh
was
yeah,
too
you
fucked
tipped out
up.
when we needed you the most,
Too
Mikey.
fucked up.
Yeah, man, I remember watching that with Justin and Bob. I just went home in a bad mood after
Yeah.
watching that movie.
It's rough.
Well-
even I was. I just went to bed.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're unfamiliar with Mikey, Mikey's a good friend of the show. He's also one of the co-hosts of Let's Get Physical Media, which is a sister show of Straight Chilling. Check out Let's Get Physical Media everywhere you get your podcasts. That's going to take us right into housekeeping. Right off the top, actually, we got a brand new episode of Let's Get Physical Media dropping Tuesday, which will be the day before you're listening to this show. Mike and I talk about our February pickups, and we get a little loose in this episode.
This is probably one
I'll
of the
bet
funnest
you do.
episodes we've ever
Yeah.
recorded.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. We talk about the Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, etc., all the shit we bought over the month of February 2022, and we were inspired by the great Dave Grohl. Maybe I should say great Dave Grohl.
He is great.
So yeah, slam that into your ear holes if you want a little more information as to what's going on with Let's Get Physical Media. We got a bunch of other shit. We got a lot of housekeeping. I'm going to try and move quickly. Here's your final reminder. We have our April poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this April. The theme for April's Kids on Bikes. The 3 movies to vote between are Super 8, Attack the Block, and Turbo Kid.
How are the numbers looking? We're rounding out the month.
I know, man.
This is it.
Down to the wire last week. Turbo Kid's still winning. Attack the Block and Super 8 are now tied, just a couple votes behind.
Wow.
Okay.
Man, competitive in the last act here.
Yeah, that got weird.
Still like a few people left to vote, though. Like, honestly, it could really go any way at this point. Make sure you get...
Yeah, I mean, our margins are pretty thin.
Well, man, make sure you get your votes
The difference between 8 and 10 is small, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm not good with numbers.
It's $100 at night.
$100 at night. Make sure you get your votes in before the end of March. We'll see what movie we're talking about this April. We're also releasing a brand new mini cast. We release these every other Friday on Patreon. And if you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of mini casts. We've got over 60 on there. And you can copy paste the RSS feed that is sent to you from Patreon into whatever podcatcher you prefer to listen to podcasts on. This Friday, we're going to be dropping a brand new mini cast. Justin and I are talking about Studio 666. Speaking of Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, you're going to hear a lot more about them this Friday.
Yeah, pour one out for old Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Sad news. Way too young. Poor guy.
Yeah,
man.
All the best thoughts and feelings go out to the Foo Fighters and the friends and family of Taylor Hawkins for sure. Dude was a legendary drummer, and he's led an incredible life and has been taken way too soon. If you do want to hear our thoughts on Studio 666, like I said, that is dropping on Patreon this Friday. Slam that into your ear holes. Another Patreon.
We're getting to the point where we have more bonus episodes than most podcasts have episodes.
Have regular ass episodes.
Boom.
Yeah.
We make up for the lack of quality with a ton of quantity around
We got
here.
We got a lot.
Quantity is king at Straight Chillin'.
The Walmart model.
Not quite that shitty. We do have another Patreon news. A brand new Patreon supporter we got to give mad shouts outs to. Huge.
Dry spell is over, I pray.
I know. We're wet. This is the wet spell. We're sopping.
Wet season.
Wet season.
Spring showers.
This movie has opened a Pandora's box for Bob. We can't put it right back in, can we?
Hurricane season.
It's just gonna.
I'm just real horny. Big thanks to Eric A.
Mr. Rocco Humpover.
Rocco Humps.
I'm definitely making that a bump.
Big thanks to Eric A. for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. It really means a lot to us. It helps us keep the show going, and every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these parts, we owe Eric the straight chilling salute. This one goes out to Eric.
Slap my ass.
Thanks for slapping my ass, Eric.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good bump for this movie.
It is.
It is.
Finally.
It's a shame. It's a shame that it's a very particular salute. Otherwise, I'd be dropping it in every sentence.
Yeah. More Patreon news. We reopened the You Picked the Flick tier today. And if you're a new listener to the show, this is the only way you can outright pick a movie for us to review. There's only 5 spots available, and we open it once a quarter. So this is for the second quarter 2022. The 5 spots were snatched up in less than a minute. I think that's a record, actually.
Wow. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I woke up to like all the emails and everything, and then I immediately checked Slack, and it was everybody like, I've been checking it all day. What the
Man,
fuck?
it's either you can pick the flick or you could buy a PS5 online.
I know, right?
Who has the faster thumbs?
Dude,
all I know is I don't want to be a plaster wall near any of the people who missed out, because those motherfuckers are pissed.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, friends. If we could provide for everyone, we would, but it's just not in the cards.
We just don't have the ability to do it. I wish we did. That'd be amazing. But big congratulations to Luke, Miles, Hydraberg, Nate S., and Diego for all grabbing a You Pick the Flick for the second quarter of 2022. Just send us your movie picks as soon as you decide, and we will get to them.
Dude, what a legend Hydraberg is. Dude is undefeated.
I don't know how he does it. I really don't.
Fast thumbs.
And he has a straight chilling tattoo. God damn.
I feel like we're gonna find out that it's gonna be one of those situations where when you were a kid and you would be playing like Mario Party or something, and somebody would be using their third party fucking controller
Game
that
Genie.
presses A, like you just hold A and it just yeah.
Game
Fucking cheating, man. He's gaming it.
Cheat
Is
bird.
Game Genie in our Patreon, buddy? Tell us the truth.
He was on the clock. He was working this morning too, and he managed to grab one still. So I don't know.
Damn.
Well, let's not put the man on blast.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to edit that out. Just bleep that shit out. The last bit of news I have here. Here's another reminder: we are doing a straight chilling meetup in Jacksonville, Florida, Friday, April 22nd. This is happening at a bar in town called Rain Dogs. It's going to start at 7:00. It's just sort of like a general meetup for horror fans and listeners of the show, friends of the show. It's also going to be partially a swap meet. So if you have movies, posters, horror figures, memorabilia, autographs, whatever, stuff that you want to trade other people for similar things, make sure to bring all that. And
you want to just give Bob some of
Just
your old
donate.
blues, he's got
Bob,
some
you've been
extra
raking in the
space on the
freebies
shelf.
this week.
yeah, spoiled this week. For
Now
sure.
we know why Rob does this podcast.
Feed
You
me
know-
the blues. It only took 8 years to get free movies.
The longest con ever.
But yeah, come hang out with us at Rain Dogs. It's a free event. It's a really cool bar, and if you want to just take a bigger part in a really cool, like-minded group of horror nerds, show up. Mark your calendars, April 22nd. That is a Friday, 7:00. Rain Dogs here in Jacksonville, Florida.
The password is
Rigatoni.
That would be hilarious. Sorry, you gotta have the password. You gotta have it.
yeah. It's a very, very open and VIP exclusive.
For
So
yeah, both at the same time.
The most open door and solid iron door situation possible simultaneously.
That's all I got for housekeeping. Do you guys have anything you want to mention?
No, dude, I'm just glad everybody got their picks in so quickly. It brings a warm feeling to my old bones. So thanks, guys.
Randy's old bones. Yes.
My old bones.
Thank you guys. Congratulations to everybody. I think that's all we got. Our dirty house is now clean.
There.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about X, and we are kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Rob, how quickly are you going to pre-order this box?
Dude,
Oh my God.
if I could have ordered it already, I would have, but it's not
I
possible. Yeah, it's a brand new movie. This was written and directed by Ty West. Also, he's the camera operator for, I think, all of his movies, which I just learned.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Impressive. And he edits all of his own movies. So this dude is all over the damn place.
Really?
This
Yeah.
guy,
Damn.
this
That's
is control
talent.
freak level. I appreciate it, but I hope that he's
Yeah.
sleeping all right.
I assume it started out of necessity, just DIY kind of stuff, and then he, just kept doing
Probably.
it that way. But yeah, brand new movie. It stars Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi is also in this. Or Stephen Muscati, I guess I should say.
Scott.
Thank you.
Bob. God
Steven.
damn.
Who am
Steven.
I? Do I even hip hop? No.
No,
It's got
you do not.
a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes. The plot synopsis brought to us by IMDb is as follows. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas. But when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. Gentlemen, would you recommend people check this out? I'm going to let our guest jump in here first. Mikey,
me?
what do you think? Yeah.
I recommend this one.
Yeah.
I had fun with it. It's nice to go to the movie theater too and watch something that's not a $1 billion movie. So it's also kind of fast and quick to the point. It's not a 2-3 hour epic event. Just a fun little popcorn flick, but I definitely recommend it.
A nice regular ass movie about banging grannies. That's
in my neighborhood, that's what we call a normal day.
All right, Randy, what about you?
As usual, I'll have stipulations. Those being, you got to be comfortable with the sexy stuff, and you got to be comfortable with the deeply unsexy stuff. And it's fairly gory at times, and I think overall it's a pretty strong recommend from me.
All right, Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend it. And I do think this is one that you should go out to the theater for. Ty West is super talented. This was a fun, not franchise slasher, which we don't get a whole lot of coming out. It's got a lot of style. It looks great. And it was just a really great watch. So yeah, check it out. Bob, how do you feel?
Yeah, hard recommend. I mean, if you're a horror head and if you're listening to the show, you probably are. You're gonna watch it anyways, so run to the theater, watch this movie. 2022.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
It's off to a very good start. So yeah, check it out. That sounds like a solid recommend from everybody.
Yeah, it does.
I think so.
All right, yeah. Well,
that's rare.
It is
For a new film.
It
has been a little bit, I think.
We are going to spoil the shit out of this movie, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Ah, yes. I have the full plot typed up for X. Let me run down this real quick for y'all. Set in Texas, 1979, aspiring porn actress by the name of Maxine Minks embarks on a road trip to make a pornographic film with her producer boyfriend Wayne, actors Bobby Lynn and Jackson Hole, and director RJ, as well as his girlfriend Lorraine. They arrive at an elderly couple, Howard and Pearl's country home. They've rented out their cabin to film the movie unbeknownst to the homeowners. Maxine is invited inside the main house by Pearl. They share an awkward conversation. Pearl also makes a sexual advance toward Maxine. Pearl later tries to have sex with Howard, her husband, but he claims his heart is too weak and he can't handle it. Lorraine, wanting to shed her label of being a prude, says she wants to shoot a scene in the movie. RJ very reluctantly shoots the scene with her and her and Jackson. He then storms off and tries to leave with the van. As he's doing so, he sees Pearl standing in the dark alone. He walks over to check on her and make sure she's okay. She tries to get a little kissy kiss and then he recoils. She stabs him several times in the neck, killing him.
I'll be stroking.
Lorraine
Always.
Lorraine and Wayne then go looking for RJ. Wayne is stabbed with a pitchfork, and Howard locks Lorraine in the basement with another random dead body. Howard then asks Jackson to help him find Pearl. He shoots him with a shotgun. A naked Pearl climbs into bed with Maxine. Maxine screams and awakens Bobby Lynn, who chases Pearl onto the dock of the lake. Pearl pushes Bobby in, and she is eaten by an alligator. Pearl and Howard have some sex in the guest house, allowing Maxine to grab a gun from the van and let Lorraine out of the basement. Lorraine runs out the front door, and Howard shoots her with a shotgun. As Howard arranges the dead bodies, he is startled by a dying Lorraine, has a heart attack, and then dies himself. Pearl tries to shoot Maxine with a shotgun, but the kick launches her off the porch and she breaks her hip. Maxine starts to drive away in the elderly couple's pickup truck. Pearl starts to berate her. Maxine then drives over Pearl's head, killing her.
Let's go, give it to you.
Exactly. The following morning, police arrive on scene and we find out Maxine is the daughter of a TV preacher that was constantly playing on Pearl and Howard's TV. The detectives then find a camera and speculate what's on the film. Roll credits. And we also have a little trailer, post-credit trailer that is
oh shit,
advertising a prequel for this movie coming out later this year.
Ah, fuck, I didn't know about it.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the post-credit thing.
We talked about that for like 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
I knew that they had a prequel
after a
coming.
movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is kind of like a Marvel movie in that way. But yeah, but apparently this.
It's okay, Randy. I haven't seen it either.
It was only playing at the end of credits stateside. It wasn't happening anywhere else. I'm sure it'll be released online very soon. This kind of gets into some of the trivia, but these movies were filmed back to back. So this is produced by A24, and it was filmed entirely in New Zealand. And when the crew arrived in New Zealand, they had to quarantine for 2 weeks to make sure everybody was okay and didn't have COVID and stuff. And while Ty West was in quarantine, he wrote an entire script for a prequel, and he was FaceTiming with Mia Goth to make sure that she would be down to do this second movie if he got A24 on board. She said, she confirmed she'd be down for it. And then the two of them presented A24 with a brand new script before they ever shot the first movie, and A24 was like, we love it, fucking film it. And so they just stayed a little bit longer and filmed 2 movies back to back in New Zealand. So A24 kicks ass.
Damn, when I was in quarantine, I just played video games.
Son of a bitch. But yeah, let's talk about this movie. This is an exceedingly horny movie.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Mikey.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I agree. It is a horny movie, but like halfway through the movie, you've seen so many boobs that it kind of just blends on in, and the narrative just kind of takes place after that.
Just really part of the wallpaper at that.
Eventually, it just it's all.
Once
it's
you
all
bust your nut, is it even anything?
And one thing too, Jackson Hole, is that damn Kid Cudi's name? Jackson Hole.
Yeah, Jackson Hole. Yeah.
I did not catch that.
Yeah,
that
Jackson
is great.
Hole. So I'm surprised he's if I wrote this movie, he would probably be the last person to die.
Yeah.
Because this dude just had sex with 3 women in the same day. I'd be the last one awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, after all that, I'd be exhausted.
Yeah. That's true. We get that dong silhouette of his as well, which I thought was
so long.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What I did like about this movie, going into it, we knew it was going to be kind of like the exploitation porn aspect. But what I was surprised about, as horny as this movie was the flip on like the motivation for the killer.
Yeah.
That was not something I was expecting. So even though I was like going in with the expectations, I still found myself pretty surprised and intrigued by what the overall premise of the film was going to be. So that was nice.
Can I say, like, just on the front here, like just on like right away, this movie feels like it had a better claim to being a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie than the most recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, or several of the other ones.
Yeah, for sure.
It felt far more in line with what the original Texas Chainsaw was out of the gate, just right out of the gate. Like visually, I mean, obviously it doesn't quite have the same grit factor. It doesn't, but it also doesn't have the cheese like grit overlay either, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And like even like the way the house looks, all that stuff, like everything, like it's clearly modeled visually after the original Texas Chainsaw, and I gotta applaud that because he did better than almost every sequel there has been for that franchise.
I would say he has done better than every
sequel. I mean, arguably yes.
Been.
Yeah.
If you just simply switched out the killer and gave it a slightly different motivation, then yes, he would.
I do. Right. I want to talk about the killer in this movie, or killers really. This is definitely like a slasher movie. I think you could classify it as a slasher, but it sort of subverts what we expect in a slasher movie, which is typically the killer's this like giant hulking scary man with a mask that is basically unstoppable. And like we've got this
supernatural,
and we've got this like extremely old, small, frail woman that's like, you typically wouldn't be afraid of her, and the characters aren't until they're just murdered, so
this slasher is taken out by a busted hip, like
right.
What other movie is gonna have that happen?
Yeah,
but her sex drive got the best of her,
dude. Yeah,
like that sex drive
she's thirsty.
Gave her the damn adrenaline rush to kill everybody.
I will say, like, it was a mix. one of my like kind of biggest critiques are like is you do have to suspend some belief in a couple points. And actually for the most point he masked it pretty good, even considering that this old woman, like the first kill I'm totally fine with. The one that really got me, that felt like it was leaning a little too far into the camp, which just didn't feel consistent with the rest of the film, was the pitchfork through the eyes. I was like, I don't know. It's just like, if she wasn't able to get that kill, she never would have been able to take out this Wayne guy. Now, the way they took out a Jackson Hole, you know, that made sense and that kind of fell in line. But then also, too, the girl was swimming in that lake or that pond earlier, and anyone could have easily stumbled across that car, you know, that was clearly thrown in there. So it's like there's a couple times where having an old frail woman kill most of the people, you do have to suspend the belief.
Well, and they do, like, you to your, like, agree. I just want to agree with you that overall I think they handled that pretty well, though, because like very few of the kills involve overpowering anything.
None
of them do, really.
Sneak attack.
It's either sneak attack or blend, kind of.
She knew the layout of the land better than any of them, because she's lived there, like,
that's true.
Forever.
It's like traps and clever stuff, which is pretty good for a sundowning old lady who wants to rape you to death. So, speaking of like the whole thing with, they have like this guy. I'm interested in what's going on with this old couple, because this movie does a great job of making you almost like pretty well sympathize with this woman anyway, for the first, I don't know, at least third, until things start really popping off, or things start feeling really, when she touches Mia Goth, that's where things got weird for me. Otherwise, I was under the suspicion that maybe she was like, just, Alzheimer-y, and the husband was the real threat. But man, that is not the case. This movie kind of threw me for a loop with that one, which I appreciated.
Randy, do you know who plays the old woman?
I was wondering if it was maybe one of the other actors. Like, was it Mia Goth?
It is Mia Goth. Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
I was looking
just
for her
looking
specifically,
that
and they did a good enough job where I couldn't tell for sure.
I didn't realize either, because I was trying to look it up and I saw the cast and it lists everybody else except for Pearl, and I was like, who plays Pearl? Okay, that was going to be one of my other little critiques on this film, because mostly I feel like I'm going to talk some awesome shit about this film. Like, it's really good. I love it. But the effects on the old people at times looked kind of like janky a little bit.
It just seemed like maybe a little too much at times.
Yeah.
I guess that's the reason. I thought they just kind of overplayed the makeup at first, but I started suspecting that there was someone underneath there that we didn't suspect, because it just really does still kind of have the cadence or the visual of like a aged up makeup, even if it's done pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
I question,
because the old guy's not old either. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Who is the old guy then?
No, I was going to question that too. Like, if the old guy was being played by a younger actor.
I think he was played by a younger actor. I don't know exactly who though. Like, it's not.
I mean, he's an old guy. I was looking at him.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's 63 years old, so he's not as old as they portray him. But he's not a young. Yeah, he's not young.
Well, thematically speaking, I thought it might have been the guy who played Wayne, but Wayne is too built to be.
Yeah.
The only other actor in this that it could have been was the cameraman RJ. Was it?
RJ.
But I'm not sure. I'm not convinced it was him either.
No, it's some guy named Stephen and like I said, he's 63 years old.
But yeah, so like that's clearly a choice being made for some sort of reason. I'm thinking about story and thematic wise, like why have Mia play a foil of herself basically, and what is that foil saying exactly? So I was really interested in what they were doing.
I thought I mean, going off of her being Mia Goth, because and it's interesting that we are getting a prequel to this named Pearl after the main killer lady, because her whole it seems purely sexual, but actually one of my favorite scenes is right after she kills RJ, and it goes from like Don't Fear the Reaper to like her dancing in the full red and everything like that. And it's about the loss of life, the loss of youth, and you know, feeling like you have wasted your opportunity. She has this kind of like little monologue where she's talking about, you know, reminiscing about her lost like youth and how she feels like she wasted life. And then there's even that kind of confrontation with the blonde girl at the pond or whatever, where she's like, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, waste my life like you old bitch or whatever. And so, I mean, while it seems like it's a lot of like sexually like driven things, it really seems like a kind of like facing death in the face and, you know, reflecting on what your life was and regret.
Well, the movie opens up with Maxine like staring herself in the mirror, and she's like, I'm a fucking star, and then does a line of coke. Yeah. And throughout the movie, she continues to say like, I refuse to live a life that I don't want, like over and over. It's like her mantra, basically.
That I don't deserve.
I don't deserve.
They don't deserve.
And then we see Pearl, who basically is on the other side of that, having lived a life that I assume she deems that she didn't want or didn't deserve. And I guess in the prequel, maybe we'll get a sense of why that is. But Mia Goth is going to play a young Pearl in the movie Pearl. So she's playing playing her character. Yeah, but I think those characters are basically the same person, just on other ends of the spectrum, other ends of the life, you know, lifeline, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that thematically, that makes sense. And like, I wonder about that, though, like with the post-credit sequence. Bob, can you just tell me what happens there? Because I had a whole different idea of what it was going to be based on the parts I did see.
Yeah. So it's like a teaser trailer. So I don't know like the ins and outs of it, but it looks nothing like this movie. It's set, from what I can tell, it's set in the same house, but in the year 1918, and it's very much influenced by movies of that time. Like this movie was influenced by movies from the 1970s. So it's almost like it's cheerier, it's brighter, it's almost like
the whole way it's filmed is completely different. It's not like totally grindhouse film like how this is. Yeah.
It almost kind of looks like it had a fairy tale vibe to it in a way.
That's cool.
But the cuts are like so quick, it's hard to like really understand what's happening. And there does, like towards the end of the teaser, it does look like some doom and gloom, like maybe some shit's on fire and stuff. But it's hard to tell. It moves very fast.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, that is not what I expected at all. Based on what I saw in this movie, because they made a point to have that little reveal at the end of Mia Goth's character in this being the daughter of the televangelist's family that we've been seeing throughout. I was wondering, before I remembered that there was going to be a prequel to this, I was like, oh man, that's so interesting. Like, why that exactly? What is the thematic purpose of that exactly? But now that and so when I realized, there's a prequel, I thought, okay, so we're going to see how she escaped this evangelical cult or something like that, and escaped repression and became this like hyper, like almost narcissistically minded porn star, essentially. But yeah, it's a whole different direction than that. Even I'm really interested to see where that goes. That's
and
great.
He's also, Ty West has also mentioned that like his goal is to make this a trilogy. So I guess if these first two do well enough, he'll make a third.
Dude.
Oh, that's good.
Really?
Even a continuation of Mia Goth as she stands right now, like in the end of this movie where she's driving off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I was just thinking
maybe see her 20 years later. See her in her old age.
Yeah, that might be it.
Basically two generations of the same character, essentially played back to back, but in a chronological situation. That'd be really interesting.
I like the idea of the like preacher reveal at the end, because it kind of was like the exclamation point at the end of like, there's no excuses, you know? And the fact that this older woman feels justified. And it's interesting because they've obviously done this before because there's a dead body in the basement and there's cars like in the pond or whatever. But I mean, the idea of like, you know, it wasn't even a matter of circumstance. Like she made her own way. Mia Goth's character, the young one, I guess, Maxine, she made her own way. You know, she was brought up in a life of conservative Christianity or whatever. And she is still very young, and she has her, well, not completely like a monologue, but after they do their like song or whatever, or maybe right before they do their song, where they're all chilling in the cabin and they're talking about you know, a free kind of life and open sexuality and all those kinds of things. You know, we get to see like she's got a mind of her own. Like she's thought this through. She's not just kind of like blown in the wind or anything like that. Like she really has a purpose about her and stuff like that. And so I like that at the end, it shows like there was no excuse. You know, I chose this life. You really did waste yours.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, is I kind of feel like, you know, this thematically speaking, this movie reminded me of a movie called Mr. Nobody with Jared Leto. If you guys have seen that, it's a little bit like, I don't know if a lot of people have seen it or not, but the whole premise of that is, you know, there's an old man, Jared Leto, sitting in the future hospital bed talking to like a reporter or somebody and telling his life story. But his life story basically is like several life stories, because he, at one point in his life, he, you know, his parents divorced and he had to choose which one to live with. And they show both tracks of his life, and then it continues to splinter, and he's like recalling all of it as if it all happened. And so like the reason that came to my mind is because it's like, okay, yeah, Pearl stuck with her conservative mindset of what she's supposed to do, and she regrets that. There's like Mia Goth's character, like her Maxine is a character who is dead set on being like the center of attention, being like having that X factor, like relishing what she has and doing a bunch of coke and doing all this stuff. That could just as easily be a regret later. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the idea that there's one way to fuck up your life is completely wrong. And I wonder if that's the like overarching thing they're going for.
It's funny how you said that, how like the coke and all that could be a regret. Because I honestly thought when the ending was occurring and she was driving off and she was putting the bump on her hand right before she did it, I was thinking about the beginning of the movie when she was in front of the mirror and Wayne was like, "You keep doing that, it's going to kill you." I thought everyone was going to fucking die at this movie, and I thought she was going to do that last bump and give herself a heart attack or something, crash the car.
Dear, something.
I thought that was going to happen, but she just kept on driving off.
That would have been a good ending. Solid ending.
Yeah, it's not a terrible ending.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't leave that trilogy open.
True.
Yeah. She's probably going to go off and kill the cult, the televangelist. Maybe
but
that's
we don't know. He could go
Kill Bill.
He could go even further back in time. It's nuts that he's making a movie 60 years beforehand and completely changing the filming style. So I mean, we think maybe he will continue it on, or he could go the opposite end and he could jump her 60 years into the future, which would be now.
You cannot tell me there's any other. What's that?
Isn't that how they film the Fear
they
Street
kind of do.
movies?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
This is much better. So
I want to say touching on what you just, it is better. Touching on what you said earlier though, Justin, like it's amazing what Ty West, and this is like consistent throughout all of his films that I have seen. He can take what appear to be pretty stock film characters and flesh them out to make them feel like actual people, or at least behave that way.
Yeah.
The acting, first of all, is always pretty damn good. Like, but just the writing and like just giving these people an ethos that goes beyond the very obvious things that, you know, oh, okay, well, this girl, she's a porn star and she really relishes it, so she must be vapid and stupid and have have put no thought into her line of work. She just likes getting off. But they don't do that. Like little things like that go a long fucking way, and they do it with every character in this movie. Every single character in this movie has that level of dimension.
So to go off of that, talking about Ty West and what I think of him as a director and why this film is successful, especially you starting off comparing it to the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you look at most of Ty West's films and however many you've seen, he picks a very established genre with a look and a general feel. And he generally like sticks to those rules about pacing and style and look. And then he just takes the characters in that and makes them interesting and gives them a good story. You know, sometimes he twists it up a little bit.
He is RJ. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just
that's a
like
self-insert character. I'm pretty sure
these people who like, oh, what new are we going to do with Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And then they just have these like blank ass, like shitty characters in these ridiculous situations. It's like, go back to the basics. You know, set your foundation and then invest where it matters, and like characters and like interesting, like story twists and stuff like that,
The
but like
writing,
people just go too far. Yeah, people just go like too far off. Like, we gotta do something new. We gotta do something fresh.
Well, that's
and Ty West is over here doing like, man, I'm gonna make a slasher film.
Just a good
I'm
story.
gonna make yeah. But he invested in his characters, and it's like
Totally. Yeah.
And the
so
thing is, like
refreshing.
these other movies, even Texas Chainsaw, the new one, like they attempted that, but they didn't start with that. That's the thing, is like the core conceit of this movie is very obviously about the parallels of youth to age and the resentment of loss of youth, as well as the resentment of that this won't last forever as a young person.
Yeah.
Like those things, that is the central core theme. There is no two ways about it. But if you look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the theme could be any number of, the most recent one, I mean, could be any number of things. And it's very clear that the starting point wasn't that kind of conceit. It was Leatherface has a chainsaw and is killing lots of people.
Yeah.
And that's fine for
On a
certain
blue
things, but you
bus.
can't have it both ways. Like if you want to have a slash fest, have a slash fest, but leave the, don't even deign to anything extra. Maybe, I don't know. That's maybe a little harsh, but I just don't see, I don't see what, I think they wrote backwards in that movie, and that's pretty common for slasher sequels. So
Yeah.
I really I love basically all the characters like you were saying, but I think my favorite part about this is sort of like how on some level you can understand what Pearl and Howard are going through and like relate to them in a way up to a point. Obviously you're not going to go like murder a bunch of kids or whatever because you can't bang, but like you understand where they're coming from. It's terrifying to like be that close to death and having lived a life that you didn't necessarily want and can no longer even like express your love physically to like your wife or your husband anymore. Like that's all like really sad, like horrible stuff to live through. So like you can empathize with these like terrible murderers, which is like, so it almost like is kind of endearing, and it's not just like a hulking figure stalking and slashing for almost no reason. It's like, again, it adds some more depth to the movie, I think. Yeah.
Again, though, I think that going back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, I think they attempted that. They just did not succeed. Like, I think that generally these days it's pretty common, especially with these requels or whatever we're calling them. They're coming out with that intention. They're just not really doing anything with it. All they like to I feel like to some people, some filmmakers' minds, it's more a question of like, okay, so it can't just be a hulking figure. What are we going to give him to justify all this? What's that one moment where people are going to be like, oh, I sympathize with them. But in this movie, you sympathize with this character on a core like level, because it's just an old woman at first. She's weird and creepy, but they're like, for the same reason, you're tolerating it and like I don't know, externalizing a feeling of wanting to care for this person, like the blonde-headed woman tries to, because for the same reason that anybody would, for the same reason she is the same. Like, you're connected with this person because they're an elderly person, and we know that you're supposed to show them respect. You're supposed to be understanding of what their capabilities and incapabilities are at this point in their life. You're supposed to help them through. That's the decent thing to do. There's nothing quite kind of like tying people to Leatherface that way. He's just a hulking man who lives in an orphanage and has a fucking hipster bus roll into town and wants to kill them.
Well, in this too, Ty West sets it up, as I mentioned before. Each one of these characters, they have their own monologue, and so each side seems balanced. You can see that they share a common thread, and that's what kind of makes it intriguing, is they're kind of opposite sides of the same coin in a kind of way, and we're given like time with each of those. In the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was like, oh, kind of feel bad for Leatherface, but that's what I was saying. I was like, why are we like justifying killing all these teens? In this one, it's like you understand everyone, and that's what makes it interesting.
It makes it fucking great.
Yeah. So it's also pretty damn smart that Mia Goth plays both of these people when each one of the characters is just kind of then obsessed with themselves, which is also
True.
Mia Goth. As we said, the opening scene is her staring at herself saying like, you're a damn sex symbol doing coke. But then the other lady too, she's like gushing about herself. When I was 20, I was this beauty and I, you know,
in relation to
dancing.
Mia. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she becomes obsessed with herself, which is herself. Like that's cool.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right about that. You know, one thing that I wanted to like also touch on, again, going back to the evangelical preacher, I was trying to like tune into what that guy was saying a lot of the time. And there was some point, and I don't remember the exact phrasing or anything like that. And I don't remember the exact context either, but he said something along the lines of, you know, the Lord has infinite mercy, but men, you know, we all have a breaking point. Or maybe he said that about Jesus. Like even Jesus wanted to forgive everybody, but every man has a breaking point. Something like that. It's like, I remember keying in on that early on as being like, this is going to be the justification. This is it. Like the evangelicals, they've had enough of your sinning and they're going to take their justice for the Lord because every man has his breaking point. But the breaking point was something else entirely. I love that. Like you brought that up earlier, Justin. I just like everything in this movie is almost like equally, I don't know. It does a perfect mislead, I guess is what I'm getting down to.
I liked how the preacher was kind of throughout the whole movie. Like you'd see him on TV, but you'd also heard him on the radio at least once when they're driving down the road. And, you know, one line that stood out to me was he says like, you know, America needs Jesus. And it's interesting to find out at the end that like his daughter ran away from him to go be a stripper, also to try and like break into filmmaking by way of pornography. And all of that would obviously be like very condemnable by her father and by like, you know, Protestant America as a whole. And I saw this movie as like being a slight criticism of Protestant America because like the people, the God-fearing people, well, at least a slight. Like the God-fearing people obviously are the elderly folks, you know, watching this preacher on the TV at home, and they're the ones that just are like capturing and raping and murdering younger folks, you know, and in the bad, you know, younger folks just trying to shoot a porn are like really fine. They're fine, you know, like
they're just minding their own business, trying to
their heads,
make their movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got their heads on straight with the exception of maybe RJ, but even he's got like a reason to be like a lot of he's thinking.
A lot of cocaine too, and maybe some self-obsession.
Yeah,
but maybe they're not totally fine.
I mean, they're okay. They're not perfect. They're not perfect people, but what the things that they're doing are informed by sound opinions about why they would do it.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know.
They have some agency, and they're trying to make a way in life for themselves. That's not just what's forced upon them.
Yes,
there was one moment where I was like, I don't know why he did this, and it still kind of bothers me.
Can I guess what scene it is?
Yeah.
Is it the scene when they're all like after they get done working and he's slicing them up bologna sandwiches after making a porno? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
The bologna
big bologna, man.
I was questioning that. I was like, man, after a long day of shooting a porno, last thing I want is a fucking bologna sandwich.
You want tuna fish sandwich?
Like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Extra mayonnaise.
I guessed it wrong. Keep going.
No, it was the whole scene where the girlfriend like flips and wants to do the porn. And because I was like, from a logical standpoint, like the conversation that Wayne has with him, I was like, that just doesn't make sense to me, because Wayne has gone on and on. He's going back and forth with Mia Goth's character about, you know, this is what's going to make it. I've had some failed attempts in my life, and they're both like really actually everybody's like really banking on this, like, you know, they're investing, they're going out there. And I was like, okay, here's a couple things from this guy who's like had experience and he's been in this industry and shit like that. I was like, one, you're really banking on this director. He even says at one point, if this kid can do what he says he is, we're really going to make it. Okay. So he's really banking on the director. This other girl is not an actress. Like, he keeps talking about like Mia Goth and the other girl, like the X Factor and like what they got. And this girl's just some girl who holds the sound or whatever. So why would you talk You've got two beautiful women who like can do it. Why would you? Because exactly what should have happened is RJ gets mad and he's like, well, fuck these people, and leaves. I was like, if you were any kind of capable businessman, you would be like, no, fuck this young girl. Like, I'm not going to risk my movie just so I can see her tits. Like, what?
I disagree.
Really?
I mean, first of all, you're saying this man is a capable businessman. Proof not found. Like there is no evidence of that.
He's still coming up serving bologna sandwiches on the side.
Yeah, dude. They spend minutes of like his whole character is introduced as a stutter start businessman who doesn't do things by the books. He does things by follows his cock basically, and the idea that this beautiful young woman suddenly is interested in doing this thing. Like the worst thing that can happen is they don't use some footage.
No, I don't agree. I think the worst thing that happens is what happened is RJ gets really mad, which is obvious by his attitude.
The filmmaker leaves,
and takes off with the film.
Yeah.
Which is what happens.
No, the camera and the film I think is in the house still.
I don't know where it is.
Police find it later.
The director was leaving, so even if he didn't get murdered, they would have no director.
I disagree with that because I don't think Wayne actually respects this guy's art. I don't think there's any evidence of that. I think he'd be perfectly happy filming it himself if he had to, and it would to him what's selling it is the tits in the ass. Like I don't think that he cares so much about it being high end, just that it's hot. And if he has another chance at making it hotter, why would he not take that?
That's sure. I mean, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's speculation. All we know is what happens in the movie.
Right.
This dude is a shit businessman. I think we can all agree on that, though. Everything he's tried is
he's weirdly charming.
I would just okay, I guess since everyone in the room is in on the conversation, it's not just Wayne. I was like, nobody thinks that this is a bad idea. Nobody can predict that RJ's going to flip his shit and take off with the film. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. That feels weird to me.
Very reluctant.
Yeah.
I don't
know. I just don't think they're on the same wavelength. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up the sequence where Wayne is so excited about the movie that they're making. He's got a full-on erection and he makes some dude. He's like, grab my cock. Yeah, see how hard I am.
Yeah.
It also isn't penetrating you. That's a bummer.
What? Who does
Good
that?
point, Bob.
I'm going to do that to you next time.
Feel how hard my cock is.
Grab my cock right now.
And he did it. It was RJ. And he was totally fine with
fuck yeah, that's a pretty hard cock.
You know what? Free love. Free love in Texas, baby.
Yeah, 1979. Let's have some bologna sandwiches, baby, and grab each other's
You had to slice
cocks.
that bologna manually.
Dude,
for
that was
every slice.
at least 5 pounds of bologna.
It was a lot of sandwiches he put in the middle of the table before they did a rendition of.
I don't want to interrupt bologna discourse, but
oh, sorry.
I had a question that I wanted to pose to all of you. If in this movie, RJ's the older lady Pearl kind of puts moves on RJ and he sort of recoils. He's not about it, obviously, because it's super weird and catches him off guard. But if you had the knowledge that if you didn't go along with her, you were going to die, would you bang this old lady to save your life?
Yeah.
That's the question.
If I knew that she had the intention to murder me, I would not stand there.
Well,
I would.
Those are your
get
options.
Back in the car and lock.
Those are your
Why?
options. Die or bang this old lady.
I'll tie it to a popsicle
then bang
stick
the old lady.
And get it done the best I could.
Randy can't wait to bang the old lady. Juice, what about you?
I can't wait.
I be stroking.
Love has no age. Well, I guess it has a minimum age.
The real question is it ethical?
Let me rephrase that.
Wow.
You must be this tall to ride this ride. As a minimum age.
But I don't know. To me, the real ethical question to me in that scenario you just provided is it ethical to have sex with a sundowning old woman? That's
the sun is down.
But put yourself in RJ's situation too. He just saw his girlfriend have sex on camera with a porn star.
Yeah, he's having a bad day.
Pissed off. Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't say that's payback or anything, but if you're putting that,
no, that's not.
No,
I thought about what you're saying. As retribution, that's not going to get retribution for anything.
I guess having sex with Kid Cudi doesn't Yeah, match.
Also, like
Pearl.
Not quite.
I don't know. I just thought that was a weird choice because then her attitude, then she's like, "Oh, I hope RJ isn't mad." It's like, he's mad.
Yeah, he made that clear.
Let's go look for him. Like what? That whole
Yeah.
exchange just did not feel consistent with everything. Everybody, like for the most part, was making regular kind of realistic decisions, and then that whole exchange, I was just like, this just does not feel
I don't know.
right to me.
That specific scene that you were talking about where she's like, I hope he's not mad. Like, yes, I agree with you on a gut level. That feels like, well, he's mad. You took a stand against him because he was mad. You know this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also like, this is the decision making. As far as her decision making, I could make the argument that it's naivete. This is a young girl who has just been introduced to a world outside of what, like, she wants to not be a prude. She wants to not be Pearl. She wants to be
Maxine.
Maxine, not Madeline. Maxine. So, and she saw that, she's like, I want to enjoy my youth too. You guys are making a compelling argument. I want to get in on this. And my boyfriend here just gave me the green light by saying, if it's on film, then it's just business, no problem. But he's acting crazy about it, and I'm taking a stand. Like, I don't know. I can make that, and then like for her not to register that might also be a part of that naivete. But I think that I'm meeting it more than halfway by doing that. A little bit.
I think so.
She wasn't really about it until she got a gander at old Jackson Hole's hog, and then she was like, maybe I do want to be in this.
Well, like
Alma Scuddy swimming.
that entire day, she was just in the. Remember, because the girls were just shitting on her the entire movie.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
and like the only person who was actually being really nice to her was, of course, RJ and Wayne, like calling her church mouse and everything. Every time she would actually say something, but she was always in the back corner, just studying everyone and the way they acted.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
it's a youth proving yourself thing.
And then she was watching them in the entire movie. So it's like, I'm not really surprised she came out and was. She wanted to show off the Sunday draws. Didn't it say Sunday on her draws?
Yes.
Dude,
yeah.
She wanted
these are the Sunday draws. By the button squeeze. But it was Wednesday, boys.
Oh no! Did she put them on early or late? We gotta know.
I don't think it's early.
She
Time don't work that way.
She wanted to get a taste of that Kid Cudi putty. You know?
Oh, she did.
That's.
And also too, it's great seeing her in all these movies now. Like we saw her in
Jenna
Scream,
Ortega,
and then we saw her in Studio 666.
Yeah, she's in everything, man.
Oh, was she in that too?
Yeah,
briefly,
very small.
Yeah,
role.
briefly.
Yeah.
She's gonna be the new modern day Scream Queen.
She's playing Wednesday Addams in that Netflix Wednesday show.
Tight.
That's a good call. I heard
Mia Goth is everywhere. Mia Goth is everywhere too.
She is. Yeah. We talked about Cure for Wellness. She was in that.
Yeah.
That's the only one I can think of. I can never think of off the top of my head.
She was
I'm
in
looking her up.
Nymphomaniac as well. Man, what else? She was in Suspiria remake.
Suspiria, that's what I was missing. Yeah.
When I looked her up, I didn't know that her and Shia LaBeouf were squeezes.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Currently or at one point?
I think they had a baby together.
Oh, cool. Damn.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I don't know. I guess that's cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
She was in a movie called The Devil All the Time in 2020. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I haven't seen that.
I have not seen it. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty fucking well acted thing. It's a for the most part, the characters drive this thing. The core conceit is driven by the characters. This is what you want stories to be. This is what's wrong maybe with starting movies. With starting more movies that you make like as a filmmaker from an existing starting point, like it's prefab to some extent. You have to have these elements, or it's not a Batman movie, or it's not a Texas Chainsaw movie, or it's not whatever, and people will get very up in arms because the expectation is there for certain things to exist. So in lack of that, they can focus instead on like the thing that actually makes a movie compelling, which is, having characters that you feel something about, or that you don't want to see get eaten by a gator. Like,
dude, we need to talk about that scene.
Yeah, that was a really.
We need to talk about that scene. That scene was the setup of that was so fucking good. I love that scene. That was like the first scene where I was like, this movie's gonna be dope. With the gator, with her swimming naked in the pond, and the gators creeping up, because it was whole about this like this unseen threat. You know, you don't even know it's there. She barely gets away. She has no idea that it's even creeping or whatever. And then it pays off so good later. The gator just comes up and snatches that other girl by the head.
Like instantly, too.
Yeah, it was super fast.
But seeing that gator, like, I mean, maybe because we're from Florida and like that's some real shit. If you're ever out, you know, in the lake, you're thinking about for sure.
Keep an eye out. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I love that scene. That scene was so tense and also beautiful in a crazy way. You also don't get a lot of cool like gator kills, so that's dope.
Yeah. That was all practical too. They made like
really
it was like 3 animatronic gators. There was like a top side, and then there was one that was like a head and a top, and then they had just a head, I think. And it was all like built by Weta, the company that
makes sense.
Yeah, is based in New Zealand. So I mean, all that was practical, and like that drone shot, like you were describing, adds so much tension and build up. You know the gator's coming back. It didn't kill then. You know it's going to kill somebody eventually.
Yeah,
You're just
I
waiting.
love that shot.
Really fucking great. Actually, that was like a great homage to another Tobe Hooper movie called Eaten Alive, which is about Robert Englund playing this really sadistic character out in the middle of nowhere, and he's got this gator farm, and he just like feeds young kids to his gator. So, it's like references to that. Obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's the Psycho reference as well, with like the car being pushed into the lake.
Yeah, good call.
I think that was a beetle or was a bug.
Yeah,
it was a bug. Yeah.
There was
no, it would have been too early for that. I don't know.
There was a Shining reference too, like when what's her face is locked in the basement and she busts through with an axe. And I got like mad Friday the 13th vibes because, you know, they're all staying in a cabin next to a lake, and there's like this stalking figure creeping through the halls and like slowly walking through, opening doors, and people are sleeping and stuff. I just got like mad Friday the 13th.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you?
There you go. I don't know. There's a lot of homages anyways to movies of the 70s and the 80s.
I also just made a note that I was like, it reminds me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with The Taking of Deborah Logan, mostly because of the old lady wandering around. And they have a similar kind of like decrepit look to them. But I was just like, that's what it kind of makes me feel like.
I want to point out also, so like we were talking about like that gator shot and everything else, like not in terms of narrative beats necessarily, but some of the editing in this is really like fascinating and just stuff that you just don't see. Like doing a split screen during the landslide rendition, the cool. Song Landslide. That was, I mean, first of all, I meant like, I think me, like most people, was kind of an easy mark for that song. So it was kind of an instant win on that regard. But it worked. Like that is almost like, it almost felt like in terms of emotional resonance, like the thesis of the film being, you know, Landslide, you love singing that as a youth, but eventually it's going to become your reality. And in some ways it already is. You know, like the passage of time, even children grow older. Like those are very pertinent to the story being told.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then having them literally split the screen between age and youth is, I don't know, fascinating. Maybe it's a little blunt, but I didn't mind it because it's just something that you don't see. And then there was these weird things where like you would cut to and from 2 different like locations a couple of times before landing on the next scene.
Yeah. Flash back and forth. Yeah.
It's just like chaotic in just a really simple way. I like it.
I remember the scene where she was watching from the window into the barn when they were shooting the sex scene in the barn. I was like, this is like edited and shot really well. Cause I thought, you know, that they were going to catch her peeking through the window and stuff like that, but they didn't. It just added some really great tension. I just remember it being shot really well. He might have done a split screen there where she's looking, but I can't remember. I didn't take it.
I know that they cut to Mia Goth's face as she's riding and looking backwards, and then it cuts and it's suddenly Pearl's face in her place. Like,
they do that a couple of times where they're teasing the sexuality too, where it's one of the young girl's bodies, but then it immediately goes to the old woman's, and you're like, "Oh God, they set me up here."
These bastards, they set me up.
The old bait and switch. The
Nosferatu!
I think the only other thing I really had on my list, anyways, is the soundtrack was really phenomenal. It was
so great.
Written by Chelsea Wolfe, so it has like a lot of these like very haunting, airy female vocals that like weave in and out of these scenes, which is very akin to like how Chelsea Wolfe writes her own original songs and stuff. But it's just like works so perfectly for the tone of this movie, and you just have this like creeping specter of an old lady, and then laying on top of that is just like these very airy, haunting female vocals. It just like plays perfectly into the movie. I thought it was fantastic.
I didn't realize that she wrote "Don't Fear the Reaper." That's cool.
She wrote that originally. That is her song. Fact.
Fuck what you heard.
Not Blue Oyster Cult.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nailed it, Randy.
Before we rate this thing, is there any other major points you guys want to touch on?
No, I think it's one of those things that like I'm sure more things could come up, but I think we got the beats.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and rate X out of 5. Mikey, you're the guest. Why don't you kick us off, man? How do you feel out of 5?
So I remember when we first got out of the theater, and I was thinking this movie was kind of just thrown out there. I didn't think it was much of it. You guys were talking about Texas Chainsaw, but I got that too. I got Texas Chainsaw and The Strangers, because of course it's like dark and it's in a house, and of course they're like creeping around. They know the area better than you do. That's how I felt about it. But I thought it was just a movie just like thrown on screen for the most part when I first walked out of the theater. But when I was driving home, I started thinking about it more, and I was putting myself in the perspective that, say we lived in the late 70s, early 80s, going to see these slashers for the first time. And I was thinking, that was the first time you saw something like this. It's not original per se, but it's something that everyone probably would have loved and probably really enjoyed back in the day. And I kind of put myself in that perspective that, we've seen these before. Nothing really like jumped off the screen and like really like hit us like it was like as if it was the first time you ever seen Sleepaway Camp or anything like that. But I think that's what makes it fun, and that's what made it really well, or made it a really good movie and really fun to watch. Justin said it earlier that Ty West kind of went back to the basics, and I thought that's what made this movie really well. But overall, I think it was a really fun movie. I give this a 3.
All right.
Yeah.
3 out of 5 from Mikey. Juice, how do you feel out of 5?
I like this movie quite a bit. And a lot of it, too, is weird. We were going into 2021. We had, I think, high expectations because so many movies got pushed back from 2022. Or no, from 2020. And then it was a disappointment. And now coming into this, I think we're like, oh, yes, good movie.
Finally.
It's really nice. So it's interesting kind of what expectations can do. But I mean, I think Ty West is a good director. I generally like most of the stuff that he's made. But in that, like I was saying before, he kind of picks an established genre and works within it. And while I really appreciate it, and I appreciate that he takes the time to do that well, we are all sitting here saying like, this reminds me of this. And so in a little bit, it's not completely original or whatever. He's paying a lot of homage to a lot of different things. He's standing kind of on the shoulder of a lot of giants, and that's okay. I'm not saying that that's not, you can't do that, but I think it's going to like maybe take it down a scotch for me, just because so many scenes, like even that girl going in the basement, had such a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel. Like the opening scene of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where they're going down to the basement and like seeing some shit going on down there, or not that one. Maybe that was the remake or whatever. Anyways, it reminded me of like so many other films, so many different times. I do like the characters that they set up. Everybody felt like super grounded. The situations they were in for the most part felt pretty normal, or I didn't have to suspend belief for much of the film. The ones that I mentioned before, the only ones that kind of bothered me, the RJ situation, the one pitchfork kill, and that was it. Again, the makeup on the old people looked a little rough sometimes. And we didn't even talk about that sex scene with them. That was kind of wild.
Yeah.
At the time I was like, okay, all right.
She licked my asshole a little bit.
A little bit.
Just
But so there are some negatives in this film. The positives are just like, it looks great. I think the theme is really interesting. I wasn't even aware that it was Mia Goth in both positions, but like learning that, it makes it, that much more interesting. There's a lot of layers going to this with her being a preacher's daughter, and I don't know, just everybody just, I don't know, plays it pretty smart. The kills are fun. The setting is cool and looks interesting. It's good edit, beautifully like shot. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
All right. 4 out of 5 from Juice.
Bob, out of 5.
Bobby.
What are you giving X?
Ooh, X gonna give it to you. I knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming.
Shit. Yeah, I think the script is like so tight. Like, I feel like when Ty West puts a movie together, like he knows the entirety of the story before he sits down to like type the first word, and just like it just like spills from him because he knows exactly what he wants, like from the get-go.
Damn, Bob, you got a lot of innuendos popping in this review.
From
it's so tight. It's just spilling from him.
Yeah, it feels like he has such a clear vision of what he wants his movie to be, and he makes it like he just makes it happen. He pulls it all together. Maybe there's a bit of like a control issue because he does like fucking everything himself, which is crazy, but he obviously is talented enough to do all of those things and still craft a really great movie. So like, why tell him to stop doing it? I don't know. The writing is just there. And that's been my biggest complaint with a lot of new releases over the past like 6 to 12 months, is like the writing just falls apart typically in the third act, or it was just never very good at all throughout the entirety of the movie. It's just, I don't know, just shitty writing, and it drives me nuts. But I mean, he gets it right here. It's got like a very clear vision, a very clear point. You're able to relate to the vast majority of the characters, if not all the characters. All the characters are fully fleshed out, at least, even if you can't relate to them. The soundtrack is haunting. It's freaking baller. The editing of this movie is extremely stylistic. The way it's filmed is with great purpose, and like sort of where you are in time by the look and the feel of this movie. Even though it was shot on digital, it has that like filmic kind of look to it. There's some like really cool drone shots, and there's like some really cool like stationary wide angle shots too, like specifically when they're driving in the van, in the truck. I think there's another one in the cabin at some point. And this like sort of flashing back and forth between like two different scenes to sort of like invite your comparison between the two is like a really neat idea too, that I don't know that I've really seen much of that happen before. I don't know. It's a very haunting movie. It's great. I think my biggest like want from this movie is I just kind of wanted the chaos to pop off a little sooner and maybe become a little grander. I think that's really, I just was expecting the finale to be a little bit bigger than it was, I guess. I just wanted like a little bit more from it. But the gator kill was great. The decapitation was absolutely brutal. A lot of the kills, a lot of the gore were fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I have like small complaints. I'm going back and forth between like a 4 and a 4.5. I'm going to go with a 4.25, 4.25 from your boy Bob. That's what I'm doing.
All right.
Randy, how do you feel about X?
Yeah, I feel pretty similarly. I think that this movie is pretty tight. I don't think that there's a lot that I would point at and say, well, this needs to go, or this is wrong, this needs to change, anything like that. I would even disagree to some extent that it needs to go bigger. I'm pretty satisfied with how this thing ramped up and ended. I liked that it was slow enough to where I could live with the characters long enough to get that third dimension for them, all of them. And I like that it also didn't cuckold us as badly as what's that other movie he did? The one with the babysitter. Oh fuck, I'm blanking on this.
House of the Devil.
House of the Devil, where that movie, like, it really felt like it took its fucking time. This movie actually split the difference perfectly for me. So I love that. The acting is great. The writing is great. I don't have a lot of complaints. Justin, you said something about like how it's a little bit of a ding that this stands on the shoulders of so many giants and that there are so many homages. I disagree. Like, I think that, I mean, I don't know. I'm an everything is a remix guy. Every film ever made is standing on the shoulders of giants of some variety. It's a question of how well you can stack them up to see how high you can get with them. And if you're able to work in homages that don't feel hyper overt, I don't think he really did. Like, I don't think any of these felt like winking at the camera. They felt like something that you and I as horror fans are like recognize as being almost a trope, not like chopping through a door with an axe. Jack Torrance doesn't necessarily own that. Like, you know, and I don't know, like even the split screen thing, that's a De Palma thing. Like, and should we just not do split screen? I don't know. I don't see it as, you said it wasn't a ding, but it kind of seemed like it was a little bit. And I just want to defend that a little bit because I don't see, I understand like you want it to be maybe have a little more originality than that, but I don't see it as a lack of originality. I just see it as a capable mesh of existing inspiration, which is what all good art is, really. Like, unless you're like, I don't know, I don't think there's really such a thing as like a pure genius that puts things together that weren't there before whole cloth. That just doesn't happen, really. Maybe I could be proven wrong, but I haven't yet. So anyway, all that said, like I feel stronger about this than I did as I walked out of the theater. I'm pretty confident this is my favorite Ty West film that I've seen, beating out The Sacrament, which was not how I felt the second I walked out of the theater, but has slowly become the case. I just think it's a well-crafted movie. That the themes are there. They're not groundbreaking themes by any means. Like they're very core human themes that are very easy to connect to, but they don't overplay their hand, in my opinion, or at least I haven't seen any way that they have. And they leave plenty on the table for a prequel, which normally I'm not in favor of, but because it's so closely interweaved and because I trust Ty West, honestly, I think that it's going to deal with some of the stuff that's left on the table that's really interesting. So overall, I feel really good about this. Maybe it's a recency bias thing. Maybe it'll be reevaluated down the line. But for me, at this very moment, I'm going to give it a 4.5.
4.5 from old Randu. That's going to put our aggregate at a 3.9. Let's jump over to our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about X.
Certified.
All right, ladies and gents, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to ask these three gents what to guess within the best of their abilities the aggregate positive scores for X by Ty West on RottenTomatoes.com. Now, that's the user score and the critic score. And we're going to start with the latter, as we usually do. And we're going to start with Mikey, I think, today. We have 164 reviews, Mikey. Why don't you take the first bite at the apple? What do you think the overall aggregate of positive scores is going to be?
Wow, I'm thinking
in percentages.
I'm thinking it's high now. Like I thought, I guess I was just way too conservative with my score compared to you guys. so I saw the calculator said like 3.93.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 93 for the audience.
Damn. Okay.
93. Okay. All right.
I mean, you guys were high on it.
Yeah,
so I'm
we
gonna,
were.
and y'all, and it was 3-1. So I'm gonna say majority likes this movie more than anything. And I like the movie. I guess I just rated it too low.
Sound logic. And honestly, like 3 out of 5 is still a positive review, technically speaking.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking. But wow, no,
yeah.
All right, Bob, let's go with you. Where do you think this is going to fall?
I got to play the comedy number of 69.
Oh boy.
I'm going to take
69, dudes!
Thank you.
There we go.
Wait, just,
Okay. Yep. It just, they're never where you, I'm Homer Simpson in his designing his car. You can never find a horn when you're angry. That's where I am with every bump. I can never find it when I need it. Okay. So 69 from Bob. Soju, round us out. Where do you think?
I'm going to go with the other comedy number of 86. Project, please. I'm going to split the difference.
I thought you were going to say 420.
These two boys.
Okay. All right. 86. All right. Well, our esteemed guest is going to take this one.
Damn.
It is a 96% and heavily certified. 96.
Yeah.
I should have taken the reverse 69. Damn.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you should have. It is the ass to back of head. That's the right.
That's my favorite sexual position.
That's the only position worth talking about.
Fart on my skull.
All right. Well done, Mikey. Let's go over to the audience score. There are 500 plus verified ratings for X. We'll start in reverse this time. So, Juice, where do you fall on the audience score? Where do you think you'll land?
I don't know. I'm going to stay high. I don't think it'll be that high, though. Shit. I'll say 90, I guess.
90.
So high, damn.
Okay. Bob, you were our middle boy. So, what do you think?
I'm the middle boy. Damn, that's so high. I'm gonna go with a 92.
92. All right. And how about you, Mikey? Round us out.
I'm gonna keep it the same. I'll say 93 again.
93.
I've got sandwich.
Well, you guys got cowed by that last rating. It's a 73%.
Damn. Oh shit.
That means like
so
hell
you get that one.
Whoa. Oh, Mikey. We didn't ask you whether you wanted a hell yeet or a hell skeet. Or something completely different that we've never even heard of.
Hell
for this damn movie.
That is more appropriate.
Bob's going to have to give that one to you.
Around here, that means big money.
Hell skeet.
All right. The critics' consensus reads as follows. A fresh spin on the classic slasher formula. X marks the spot. Ooh,
wow.
Where Ty West gets resoundingly back to his horror roots. I don't think he really left his horror roots. Like, yeah, what?
Well,
I don't know. Sometimes they're dead on.
That's not true. Yeah, in the Valley of Violence. Or what? Okay. In a valley of violence, whatever it's called.
In your valley.
In your valley.
That was his last movie, right?
You cootie queen, you lint liquor.
Yeah, it was
2016.
And then he directed. He'd made a lot of TV since then, and then this is the first movie he's made in quite some time.
Was it horror TV or just regular TV?
A lot of it was. Yeah, he directed like an episode of that Scream series. I forget what else.
I couldn't get into that.
This is new. I've never seen this before on Rotten Tomatoes, and maybe I haven't just skipped it, glossed it somehow. There's an audience consensus that says audience says. Yeah. So I'm going to read that too.
You've read it a couple times.
I feel like you have.
Have I?
I thought so.
Maybe I forgot about it. Maybe it just doesn't come up enough. I don't have a memory. You know that. Audience says, X isn't every horror fan's idea of a good time, but it's often unique and never boring. I think that's more on point even. Yeah, I think all of that's true. This movie is widely loved, as you can tell, at least so far. Let's look at a negative review, see if there's any humor in it. Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not, as we've learned.
Make me laugh.
There's got to be some kind of sexual pun.
Oh, man. I guess there's not. West just wants to punish everyone involved in gory ways, played for laughs. What the fuck? Who's laughing at these deaths for the most part?
I mean, I laughed at the couple that are scene.
Yeah, that's true.
That was pretty.
I don't know. Like, I guess there's a little humor to him, but it's like, yeah. I mean, are we just unfamiliar with the concept of gallows humor? Because Alfred Hitchcock would like a word.
Alfred Hitchcock.
I feel like most of the kills are played seriously. Like that first one was brutal.
Yeah,
the Pitchfork one was a little campy. The Gator one was super campy but fun.
Gator Bay.
That was getting shot in the face was kind of sudden and shocking to a point of being kind of funny.
Kid Cudi. Well, yeah, I guess, but it wasn't. It didn't play. But it wasn't for laughs.
Not overtly. I wouldn't call it playing for laughs either. No.
We didn't talk about the old lady getting blasted out the door. That shit was pretty funny.
That was actually a laugh moment. And then the preacher says something like divine intervention on the that's played.
That was pretty good. Yeah,
but she's the fucking main slasher villain of this. Like, if you can't laugh at that comeuppance, what fix your Schadenfreude, bro?
That was pretty good.
Gator Bay.
Yeah. That's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. Thank you for partaking.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. All right, let's jump into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, I've got a decent amount of trivia, especially considering this is a brand new movie.
All right.
So I thought this was pretty cool. Ty West apparently always names a character in his movies Dintler, which is the last name of the dude who admitted his first film into South by Southwest, which effectively started his filmmaking career. So he's just tipping his hat to that dude that sort of helped him get started. the sheriff in this movie's last name was Dentler.
Oh,
that's nice.
Okay.
That's nice.
That's just real nice.
I mentioned earlier this was filmed entirely in New Zealand, but New Zealand had no COVID cases whatsoever. So after the film crew quarantined for 2 weeks, they basically just shot this movie like normal. They didn't have to wear masks or, like do anything crazy, like separate. Like it didn't really hinder their shooting schedule whatsoever. Obviously, these actors are like banging it out, so you can't really like social distance, for that kind of shit. But they just made it like normal.
That's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, New Zealand.
Sure, that was a relief. Yeah, thanks for doing things.
Apparently, there was a real-life adult film called Farmer's Daughters, which is the name of the porn they're shooting in this movie. It came out in 1976. It is infamous because it starred future-acclaimed mainstream writer and actor Spalding Gray, who I'm
really
not familiar with. Yeah, do you know
that cool.
I don't know very well. I know primarily that he is just some sort of like well-spoken figure or a writer of some kind, and he was featured as the town's mayor in the movie True Stories, the David Byrne film, which I just bought on Criterion sale. So,
cool.
Good for you.
Well, you can see his wiener if you want.
Well, sweet.
If you want, right?
Just saying.
I've been wondering. I didn't do my homework and I didn't find it on my own, so I appreciate the tip. The tip, though.
If you want.
You can have a look at that baloney if you want. I found
around here that means big money.
I found like a little bit of history about the like X rating that I thought I understood, but I did not. So I found this to be pretty cool. So the title of the movie X refers to a lot of things, but one of the many things that it's referencing is the X rating used by the MPAA from the years 1968 to 1990. This indicated a movie was only suitable for an audience 16 or older. The idea...
Oh, really?
Right, yeah, exactly. The idea behind it was that unlike other certificates, X would not be trademarked. This would allow filmmakers to release their film in theaters without needing to submit it to the MPAA for an age certificate. Notable movies that were released with the X rating include Clockwork Orange, Fritz the Cat, Last Tango in Paris, and Midnight Cowboy. In the 70s, the porn industry then ended up exploiting the X rating. The lack of the trademark allowed them to release pornos in theaters with the same X rating. Eventually, X just became associated with porn, and more theaters started to refuse to show films with an X rating, forcing actual films to be censored to receive an R rating. In 1990, the MPAA discontinued the X rating and replaced it with NC-17. Unlike X, NC-17 was trademarked and could no longer be self-applied by filmmakers. It still meant that most theaters would not show films with this rating, though, resulting in censorship once again to get it down to an R rating, and that's where we still are today. So I thought that was like some interesting history there.
I have never in my life seen a film receive an NC-17. I couldn't say that's a notable NC-17 film.
Yeah, they
don't come out very often at all. I know that.
No, what people do, especially nowadays, is if they know it's not going to get an R rating by the MPAA, they just like self-release it, and it's just unrated instead of NC-17. They just don't even bother.
What movie was NC-17? Like, can you name one on the top of your head?
I don't know. I'd have to Google it, honestly.
The Wild Bunch, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Re-rated R on appeal, apparently.
Get him, Toby.
Which ones have kept it? The Evil Dead. Chainsaw Massacre 2 says surrendered. I don't know what that means, but I guess they changed it.
I see a lot of French films popping up, of course.
That makes
dirty
sense.
French.
Die Hard 2. Edited for re-rating. Die Hard 2? What the fuck?
My mare.
Trying to find the most recent one. Pulp Fiction is on here. American Psycho's on here. I think
Requiem
obviously a
for
lot
a
of these are obviously given an NC-17 rating, and then they retooled the cut so that it would be better. Spiral, I guess, had to be reread. One called Blonde came out this year, and they kept that, so it is NC-17.
Wow. Interesting.
Midsummer edited. King's Man edited.
The King's Man's.
The King's Mang.
The
31 edited.
Oh God, yeah, he did edit
Not
that
surprised.
shit. It's still terrible. It's so bad. There's a painting
film.
on the wall of the adult film studio that depicts a blonde woman being attacked by an alligator, obviously foreshadowing the attack in the movie. The last bit of trivia I have here: the body count of 8. There's the bound man in the basement or the cellar. We got RJ. We got Wayne. We got Jackson Hole, shotgun to death. Bobby Lynn mauled by the alligator. Lorraine face blasted in half. Howard dies of a heart attack, and of course Pearl is ran the fuck over. That's all I got.
They show the chunks of her head too, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking brutal. They do not turn the camera away, and those.
Yeah, that throat one was brutal too. Ooh.
Dude,
after she keeps stabbing him.
Weta Digital, like the Kiwis know how to treat the gore right, man. Those early Peter Jackson films are so gore heavy, and that was the birth
That's
of
true.
Weta. So it's like them going back to the roots, man. Like they know what they're fucking doing, and I love to see it. Thank you, Kiwis.
Yeah, it looked good.
Just watch Dead Alive. Dead Alive, if you don't know.
Yeah, Dead Alive.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
that shit is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for trivia. Let's jump over into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the
Juice, what's a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, and we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness, boys. I think we got ourselves a Cooter this week. Maybe more than one. Anybody want to nominate?
Pearl?
Come on.
I'll just say everyone in this damn movie. It's a porno
Everyone?
movie.
Let's start with
I
Pearl.
disagree. Yeah, let's start with Pearl.
and see if we've got anybody else afterwards.
All right, let's talk about patheticness, man. Like, empathy aside, her situation is pretty sad. She's killing people because she didn't live her
she's
her
thirsty.
sexual,
So
because of her
thirsty.
thirst that she can't, that hubby can't satisfy, which also adds a point for patheticness for him as well. And the thing is, like, that's a little brutal because, you know, age will do this to us all. But the whole point is that it feels kind of sad and pathetic to not be able to do this thing. And that sort of feeling of self-internalized feeling of being pathetic is what leads them to kill people or take them hostage or anyway.
I would also say getting blasted out the front door and busting her hip and then begging for mercy. But she went flying. She went flying farther than old Sally.
She
Need
did.
a Sally bump for that one.
I had to take it out so that I could
We did. All right. Yeah, I would. Yeah, she's definitely got some
sexual
pathetic.
deviancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that scene, we didn't really even talk about a lot of her scenes where she's creeping in the bed. Oh, that one was, that one was rough. Oh, taking her clothes up and touching Mia Goth, which is also Mia Goth.
Touching
but still.
me a goth.
I'm touching. I don't know about you boys, but I'm touching me a goth.
That's the title of. That's the bottle of. That's the title of Bob's
bottle.
sex tape.
evil.
Touching me a Goth by Bomb Nah.
That's
By Rocco Humps.
my porn name.
Starring Soju Steele.
Oh, wow. You're just touching me. What's going on with that tape?
Smug arrogance.
Are you a goth Bob?
I don't know.
Let's talk smug arrogance for a second, because I'm wondering if there's, to tie it thematically, if the Mia Goth young and old characters are meant to be so closely foiled to literally be played by the same person, literally have like, they have parallel stories. So do we think that maybe she is as arrogant as young Mia? Because I think young Mia's got arrogance on lock.
I think the only reason you could say is she doesn't have smug arrogance is she's lost it. I mean, she kind of puts everything, her whole identity on how she used to look and perform. I mean, which isn't the craziest thing to say or think, but she puts a lot of stake in it, and maybe that even adds to some of her patheticness to say like my whole life was a waste when you like spend it with supposedly the person you loved at one point. You were very successful,
person who
and beautiful,
still loves and supports you.
Yeah, who's like killing people for you. So I mean, I don't know. I think that's some smug arrogance. Yeah, or even like her when she's like touching RJ. It's all this mix between like smug arrogance, sexual deviancy, and stuff like that. When she's like, I can be as good as those other girls, like just give me a shot. It's like, damn.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Right.
Yeah. So manipulation, I think there's definitely an edge to this because she's throughout this playing up her sundowny Alzheimer-y situation in order to, have the position to kill people. Like she does it with Blondie, she does it with RJ, she does it with Wayne. Like she's pulling schemes, and they're pretty standard slasher schemes, but they're still like manipulative to some extent. They're like, it's, she's not really out there standing out in the dirt or out in the driveway because she's sundowning. She's doing it to stop you so that she can manipulate you into fucking her or dying.
Quick question.
So,
yeah.
Did she ever put the moves on Jackson Hole?
I don't think so.
Maybe she didn't get the opportunity because if she did, she'd probably get her way. Dude's a professional.
Yeah. He'd get it in real quick, just.
And then the movie, no one died.
Yeah. He could have saved them all with his baloney.
Yeah.
But he
then
could have
we wouldn't have a
saved
movie.
them all. Maybe she's racist.
Maybe she. I mean, stands to reason.
We saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. All old people are racist. It's just a fact, as proven by that movie.
Yep.
We've talked way too much about that movie.
Let's move on. Really but yeah, I think like what else is left? Look in a tire. Boom. I mean, she's definitely
nailed
got
it.
The look.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
she hits them all. She really does. Does anybody hit them all better though? I don't know. I don't
know. I think her and hubby are kind of like tandem. I think he's like her lackey Cooter personally, but I don't feel the need to really. Mm-hmm. She's definitely King Cooter.
I don't think anybody else other than like
Wayne.
Well, the rest of them aren't going to hit sexual deviance because they're all just doing their thing. They're. I don't think that anybody else is going to hit it other than like
deviant
Pearl.
Yeah.
Wayne, I don't know. Wayne, you could say Wayne manipulates RJ if he is just trying to get something extra for his movie. So you could say Wayne is manipulative. I would also say he's smug arrogant.
He is smug, yeah.
Yes. And Mia Goth is smug and arrogant, obviously, certainly.
And don't forget about hey, touch this. Feel how hard I am.
Yes,
true.
That's sexual deviancy for him, certainly, because he's going around making. He makes RJ grab his cock.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Feel this.
Yeah. Patheticness, not so much. He's pretty self-assured. And looking attire, like he looks like a dude straight out of the show Dallas. So
he's
sure
doing his like best Matthew McConaughey. That's what I was feeling. That was the vibe I was getting.
He's walking around in his whitey tights.
I think Matthew McConaughey is doing his best Wayne from this movie.
Probably.
Manipulation. Yeah, I think he's definitely a Cooter, but I don't know that I don't like Mia Goth maybe also, but I don't think like the others really qualify for me. They're just kind of like they have their reasons and nobody is there. Nobody's there because nobody is forced to be there is what I'm trying to get.
And I would also say like the old Jackson Hole and the blonde woman both try to help.
Yes.
Actually, even like everybody tries to help.
Yeah.
Like everybody's pretty humble and like, yeah, okay, I'll help you out. Or
they're a little smug, but Mia's smug as shit. Like, that's the one I got to give her. I don't really give her sexual deviancy. I don't really give her so much manipulation. Really, I don't see much of that. Looking attire. I mean, for being a porn actress in the woods filming, she looks about what you would expect, I guess, at the time. I don't see her as hitting all those marks, but eventually time will cootify her, apparently.
Cootify.
Oh, also, before anybody asks me on the Slack, I did not give half star for the Yabos because we do get a couple swinging dogs in this one.
Oh,
that should be plus a full star.
That's Bob's code, so you are free to do that.
It was one
Bob, how dare you bring up your code?
One silhouetted dong shot.
Yeah.
We do see old Kid Cudi's putty.
Tasteful.
Well, no. And also too, the guy in the basement.
Oh
That's
yeah,
true too.
Oh,
that was really fucking.
That was a decrepit dead
fucked
dong, though.
It's
dead
you know
dong.
what's weird? That whole inclusion. Like I understand why it's there, or whatever, but it's a kind of an odd thing because they don't linger on it at all.
Yeah,
like it's very like.
Well, I think it's just that with also the car in the pond gives you enough pieces to know what's going on here.
Yeah.
To know that
definitely.
this isn't some like recent break, that they're in on this together. So I mean, it's enough to establish what's going on, but yeah.
I mean, it's just a little unusual that there's not more to it than that, I guess. But it's not the end of the world by any means.
Yeah.
Now I think we got our cooter of the week. It's definitely Pearl. I think she's
Pearly.
She is definitely the one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do
we have the Vincent Price funk of the Vincent Price funk bump? Because that would have been appropriate for this episode.
I mean,
the funk of 40,000 years.
Damn.
That's what happens when Pearl crawls in with you.
Oh God. Oh God.
Trying to get a little action.
Love doesn't know old age. Guys, come on.
Love has no older age.
Trying to get that pearl necklace.
That sends conflicting signals about where you're going with that. Okay.
Well, yeah. I think we got our cooter of the week. Let's go ahead and jump into what we've been watching.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Yo, Michael, you been watching anything good this week? What's up?
Well, I'm gonna keep this easy and short. If you want to know what I've been watching, why don't you listen up to Let's Get Physical this coming Tuesday?
That's fair.
And you can hear what's little drop there. But other from that, when I'm not watching movies for Let's Get Physical, lately, honestly, I've just been turning my brain off, and I've been rewatching Ted Lasso for the third time.
Damn, it's that good?
Oh, it's great. It's like one of the most like inspirational shows I've ever watched in my life. It keeps you in a good mood.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's a smart show.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, it's hilarious too. It's well written.
Was it on Apple?
Funny.
It's Apple. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's the catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. All right. I'll have to check it out eventually, but I don't want to pay for it. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. Sweet. And also short. Randy, what you been watching?
I'm not going to be quite so short. This week I got to go out to a tiny little theater built into a row home called Sun's Cinema, interestingly enough, here in DC, where they were screening the Vinegar Syndrome release New York Ninja.
No shit.
That's tight.
Nice.
And I'm not big on I'm not always big on like the grindhouse stuff or the certainly not kung fu. I have almost no foot in that water at all, but I really enjoyed it. And to me, what's been lacking for 2 years now has been the proper context in which to watch that film. I haven't had a lot of friends around to watch shitty movies with that are fun. I haven't had a theater experience where I watch a shitty movie that's fun. This was exactly that. People just laughing their asses off. That movie is bombastic as fuck. It is ridiculous. And for those who don't know, and I had to be informed about this, Vinegar Syndrome, you guys have probably talked about this at some point or another, I'm sure, on Let's Get Physical media. But this is essentially found footage from a film that was not released. It doesn't have any audio, so they have like Linnea Quigley and John, what's his name, Berryman, Michael Berryman, and a few other people that I didn't know come in and voice these people and take their best guess at what they're saying, which is made even more challenging by the fact that many of these actors, including the lead, are like probably like I think John Liu is he Japanese originally? Do you guys know?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't think he's a native English speaker is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
At least his mannerisms lead me to believe that maybe he's not. And the voiceover is obviously compensating for that and trying to guess at what he's saying. And not just him, everybody. Because some people are like turning their heads and trying to speak. Anyway, long story short, it's really ridiculous and really crazy. And it's worth a watch, but only in the context like I described. I think that they're still showing it from time to time, or like here and there. I just don't know when or where exactly. Anyway, check it out. It's worth a watch. I also have been I watched a movie called Extraordinary, a film that just, I think, showed up on Shudder. It has Will Forte in it.
Yeah.
It's an Irish film, and I hesitate to even call it horror. It's horror comedy to the point where the horror just is almost completely absent. It's just a horror premise with a rom-com overlay on top of it. And it's a lot of fun. It's very, very, very light. But it's a lot of fun. And I think Will Forte is always a positive in my book. I loved watching him. He's essentially the villain. He's like a washed up, like alt musician, not alt rock even necessarily, but just this weird like synth musician who's had a terrible run. So he's trying to sacrifice to a demon to make his fortune again. And that's more or less the conflict of the film, or the ostensible conflict. Everything else is centered around, a lonely young woman who's also a medium. So it's worth a watch. I like it. But it's extremely light, not a whole lot to it. I rewatched Paranormal Activity. I always forget how much of a shitbag that husband is. He sucks. Or boyfriend. He's the worst character on film, maybe. No, it's not that bad. But he sucks. He sucks front to back all the way through.
We haven't covered any Paranormal Activity.
I know. We need to cover it. Because, buddy, Cooter hunting is shooting fish in a barrel in that movie.
And there's only like 2 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I started watching, I've watched about 3 episodes of, this is going to be the last one I talk about, Pam and Tommy, the Hulu original series about the Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape with Seth Rogen and with Sebastian Stan and like plenty of other people. It's an extremely well-made show that's extremely watchable. And I don't know if there's certainly some nostalgia factor to it. So I don't know how much of that is playing into my enjoyment of it. But I don't think they lean on that too heavily so far. And what's interesting is the show really shows kind of like 2 sides of the story in not extreme detail, but like in enough detail to where you really like, it feels like it's just a shitty situation that happens to people that don't really deserve it, but they kind of like do it to each other. You know what I mean? It's like they just, I don't know. They make pretty fleshed out characters that are easy to empathize with and easy to hate at the same time, I guess is what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I enjoy that so far. I'm going into episode 4 soon, and yeah, it's great. That's it for me.
Juice, what you been watching?
I did finally watch the In a Valley of Violence or whatever, that Ty West Western, and I was not a fan of that film. I thought it was pretty boo-boo, honestly, and I was pretty shocked because I was trying to get into more Ty West. Like most of us, I wasn't like crazy about The Innkeepers, but I didn't think it was like an absolutely terrible film. But In the Valley of Violence, I was shocked at how bad I thought it was. John Travolta is in that. It's just not very good in my opinion. So stick with the horror, Ty West. Much better fit. The only other thing I watched was we were getting into some mad Batman talk on the Slack due to the Batman film coming out. And so I watched one of the newest DC animated films. I think it just came out last year, 2021. And it's a adaptation of The Long Halloween, which is a very famous Batman story. And it's in 2 parts. So I haven't watched the second part yet. So the total, it's like 3 hours. So they take their time with it. But yeah, but DC, they always do. Their animated films are always done well. That's like one of their best like strengths of their kind of superhero franchises. And so it was good. And I'm looking forward to watching part 2. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot else. Bob, what you been watching, my guy?
I haven't been watching a whole heck of a lot. There was a 2-part docu-series on HBO that I did check out. It's called Phoenix Rising, and it's essentially about the actress Evan Rachel Wood and her relationship with recording artist Marilyn Manson. And there was like some talks. I want to say it was about a year ago it came out. They cover the exact timeline in this docuseries, but she like came forward and put a statement out saying essentially what he had done to her. And there was a lot of other women that stood up and corroborated that story with stories of their own. And apparently he's got this really horrible sadistic pattern where he just isolates vulnerable women and takes full blown advantage of them. And she gets into pretty gruesome detail regarding her own story and experience with Manson, and it's just really, really damning and truly unforgivable. And I know like in the docuseries she like, you know, turns all this evidence over to the FBI and stuff, and they're like researching and building a case or whatever. And I don't know, to this day, like, you know, Marilyn Manson's still out and about doing his thing. I think he sued her for defamation after the release of this docuseries, but it kind of baffles me that he hasn't been arrested. Like, you know, obviously you got to have like physical evidence, you know, if you're going to arrest somebody, but like, it's just so terrible. I was never a massive fan of his music to begin with. But like after watching this, it's just like really, it's extremely difficult to understand why he hasn't been arrested yet. But there is like some sort of like positivity that comes out of the story. Like she seems to be doing much, much better after the fact. She's got a family of her own and stuff, and they're able to like change the statute of limitations in the state of California. It was like 1 to 3 years, and they changed it from 3 to 5 years. So like they're like actually making some shit happen out of this like tragic situation that she survived. It's not an easy watch, but like it's very eye-opening. And like I said, there is some positivity that comes out of it, and hopefully, you know, he gets his just desserts before long. But yeah, that's called Phoenix.
Another fallen angel, Marilyn Manson.
Angel?
Yeah, I don't know about that, man.
I don't know. The lowest scale victim of the whole thing is the fact that all of those evangelical preachers who yelled that Marilyn Manson was evil at me turned out to be quite right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just really, I'm the real victim here. Is what I'm saying.
I can't listen to the beautiful people anymore.
Not the beautiful people.
Gosh.
Anymore. Yeah, that's Phoenix Rising. It's on HBO. It's a 2-part series. It's about 3 hours in total. I hadn't watched a whole lot else other than that. I did this past week. I went to go check out a live podcast. Actually, it's Last Podcast on the Left. Yeah. They're on tour.
Oh, right.
And they came through Jacksonville. They played the Florida Theater, and I'd never seen like a mega huge podcast kind of do their thing. And like, I'm admittedly not a massive fan of Last Podcast on the Left, but I was like, I got to check these guys out. They're sort of, you know, we do something very different than them, but they're like sort of at least in our orbit as far as like topics of conversation. You know, they mainly talk about like true crime and like, you know, cryptids and UFOs and stuff, but they're obviously like big horror movie fans, and they do reference horror movies on occasion in their conversations and stuff. So I checked them out, and like, it was okay. It was like basically like it was basically like listening to their show, I guess. They just did it live on stage. And they had sort of a PowerPoint presentation rolling. So you had some images to correlate with what they were talking about. I don't know like why I assumed it would be more of a presentation than just like a PowerPoint kind of thing, but I had in my mind it would be a little more of a production, I guess, than it was. It was all right. I don't know. It was. I guess if
Did
you
they
really
sing
love,
any songs?
No. If you really love their podcast, I'm sure you love the live
they didn't
show.
Dance.
It was all right. It was all right.
But they did do some mime work, right?
No mime work, which is really what I was
kind of
there
production?
Did they cartwheel onto stage?
Didn't even cartwheel. No gymnastics whatsoever. These guys are young and obviously flexible.
You should have asked for your money back.
I did.
Where's the gymnastics?
These men are not flying in on trapeze. I thought
there was going to be some blue mangs around here.
Where's the Cirque du Soleil?
I only see white mangs. I need a blue mang. No, it was all right. I got a few belly laughs out of it. I don't know. That's really all I got up to this past week, though. That's all I've been watching. We got one more segment. That is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave us a voicemail to be featured on our next show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got one voicemail this week, and we are going to hear from our boy Luke. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey guys, this is Luke. I picked a couple of movies for you in the past, The Baby and Blood and Lace. So I'd venture to guess that our tastes are not exactly aligned, but I had to call and say a few things about The Beyond. I love Italian movies, and The Beyond is one of my favorites. It's got one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, and I want to give you a bit of a different lens through which to view Italian horror, especially Fulci films. If American cinema or typical movies are a painting with one picture, one cohesive narrative, one soundtrack that fits the action, then Fulci films are more like a collage where you've got the images filmed without a script, you've got the voices recorded someplace else, you've got the gore effects, you've got the musical score that may or may not line up with what's happening, and it's all jammed together. And that forms a kind of dream logic, but it's not the kind of dream cinema that David Lynch does. He's trying to create a mood. Fulci is trying to assault your senses. And that's why everything is so bombastic. The gore, the zoom-in shots to people's faces, the expressions, the music. Even if you look at a film like Suspiria, which is relatively popular in America, it still has that overwhelming goblin score that drowns out the action and the dialogue. It's still got a narrative that doesn't especially make sense. That's what's going on in Fulci movies. So eventually we're going to cover it on our podcast, Video Store Nightmares, and I hope people check that out. But I just wanted to give you a different lens. So if that changes the way you view Italian cinema, then I think that's awesome. But I'm not under any illusion that I'm going to convince anyone who doesn't like it or it doesn't work for to like it. Like, you either get it or you don't. But that's the way I look at it. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Luke. That was a pretty interesting way of putting it. As far as effectiveness, I still err towards that movie being sort of like, I didn't feel assaulted really by it. I felt mostly kind of bored.
Sounds like Randy doesn't get it.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, well, that's actually exactly what I was going to say, is to be like, the thing is people keep describing this movie. Like, Luke just gave a pretty interesting description. Bob had his own description last week, and I was like, man, I wish those were the movies that I watched. I didn't find this movie bombastic at all. And actually, to talk about the narrative that doesn't make sense, it does have a narrative that makes sense. I could give you the narrative. It's about a hotel where there's a gate to hell underneath, and a girl, she inherits it, and, in doing repairs, unleashes hell on New Orleans. That's a pretty clean narrative, and that's what it follows for the most part. I think people give this guy like too much credit. Like, what Luke just described is not. I didn't feel assaulted. I didn't feel like they just felt like poor choices.
I also want to point out that, like, the idea of film collage is not, exclusive to Italian cinema by any means. Like, if I think the first thing that came to my mind when you said film collage, or a film built on collage, was Kuso, which is that flying lotus, like, insane.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is film collage. Like, I don't know. It's pretty clear that that's an intentional choice. Whereas, to Justin's point, I don't think that The Beyond really makes it clear that it's intentionally trying to, like, mix elements, because it really doesn't. If they, like, I don't know. To me, I don't know that it holds up for me as what is being described. But I appreciate that input, and I understand that people love that movie, and I really don't want to, like, sit here and tell you why you're wrong. It's not a question of being wrong. You're right.
If I had the time,
if you like it, you like it. If you don't, it would take a few hours, some math. We could figure it out. But no, I don't know. I appreciate the insight, though, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You like The Beyond, Mikey?
I did like The Beyond.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get into more and more Giallo the past like few years.
Yeah.
And I think I watched The Beyond last year for the first time for Let's Get Physical, and that was actually one that I actually kind of enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, it's up there for me. It's not quite giallo, but it's definitely got that weird like Italian vibe to it.
Yeah.
Whenever I listened to Luke's message, it reminded me of a point that I had that I did not mention when we were talking about The Beyond last week. It's like if you were to liken the more like written straight ahead narratives of like, Wes Craven or like John Carpenter, like they're more sort of like rock and roll, like, 4 on the floor straight ahead music, whereas like Fulci and Argento and Bava are a little more like freeform, like improv jazz or something like that. I don't know. It's but then again, you just like it or you don't. It's completely understandable why somebody would not like it.
I think that's a more apt description, maybe.
Yeah,
for my money.
Yeah, I don't know. The Beyond is what it is. It's beyond comprehension.
It's not. I understand it.
Yeah. No, you don't, Justin. You can't. Oh shit. Thanks for calling, Luke. Always good. Always good to hear from you. We're gonna be hearing from Luke very soon. Actually,
Luke.
he grabbed one of our U picks, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, I'm honestly I'm stoked about that because at least these aren't like. I love hearing why Luke loves these movies. That's maybe my favorite part of some of these movies.
Actually, Blood and Lace was pretty interesting.
Yeah, totally.
I'll give him that. The baby, kind of weird.
Yeah.
Blood and Lace, though, pretty solid, pretty interesting.
Again, if you guys are listening, want to leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts to throw out for next week? Anybody?
What's your favorite porno? No.
Yeah. you can go on Video Syndrome and buy.
Heidelberg will answer that question. Yeah,
something tells me it's got something to do with food play.
Okay, all right.
Probably strawberry jam. Something like that.
We've already covered Hotline Kinks many times, so in that regard, all right. Okay, how about this? What do you think that the third entry into this series of Ty West is going to be? What's your guesstimate?
I think it's going to be Maxine. It's going to continue off her driving away from the house and see where she's going to go next.
I think it would be interesting to see like another time jump. And like,
me too.
Because with following Ty West film history of him picking kind of a genre lane and like really, making the film look and feel like that, it would be interesting to get a trilogy that's all based in 3 different film styles. I haven't seen the trailer you guys were talking about, but I was really intrigued by that idea because that's kind of his whole thing. I'm going to do this found footage film. I'm going to do this, wacky haunted house. But, everything sticks to like this specific kind of subgenre feel look of how the film kind of plays out. And I would love to see a trilogy based around that idea. That would be kind of cool.
What genre is the third one going to be, though? Torture porn? What's the update?
I don't know. It depends if he goes forwards or backwards. Because if he goes backwards, then he could almost be more like a Victorian style, Jack the Ripper or something in the street. I mean, it depends on where it goes. Yeah, you don't really know.
That could be dope.
But if he goes in the future, then it could be more like A24 art house style. I don't know.
Aren't they already though? How do you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this is an A24 movie. I would love to see him.
Weird Al doing a Weird Al impression.
I would love to see him do like a quote torture porn movie. I kind of hate that title, that phrase or whatever, but like, he took a slasher movie, which is typically like, lowbrow or people look down upon it anyways, and he like gave it some heft and like some heart and some meaning. Like if he took like a quote torture porn movie and he did something kind of similar to that genre, that'd be like really cool to see. I don't know how that would play into the themes of this movie or the story, but that'd be cool. Yeah.
Ty has my trust, so if he goes there, I'll follow him. But it's a harder sell than legitimizing slashers.
Just don't make another Western.
Make an Eastern, please. We'll watch that.
Nope. Don't do that.
That's gonna be it for us here at Straight Chilling this week. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. We're gonna be talking about the first U pick of the second quarter. This is Luke's pick, and the movie is Private Parts from 1972, not the 1997 Howard Stern movie. This is streaming on Amazon Prime, and it's also on YouTube. I think it's like a $2 rental. It might also be on Tubi, so you can check that out. It's fairly easy to find. Private Parts. Slam those into your eyeballs. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. Mikey, thank you so much for stopping by, man. It's always good to have you on the show.
It was fun, and I hope it's not another 3 years until I'm back again.
Right? Yeah. It's crazy that we should have you on much more regularly for sure. But you know,
keep me busy with Let's Get Physical, so let's do it.
It's true. Yeah, we got our own little side hustle. Check out Let's Get Physical Media everywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to hear this baloney smashing man's voice a little bit more, you can do so.
I'm more of a tuna melt kind of guy.
Extra mayo.
Or just tuna salad in general.
Extra mayo. Heavy provolone too, please.
Fuck what you heard!
We talk a lot about sandwiches on Let's Get Physical Media. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Slam your eyeballs into probably Turbo Kid for next week's show. And until then, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
X gon' give it to you.